Hi, I'm Dr. Shea Bradley-Farrell. I'm president of Counterpoint Institute in Washington, D.C. I'm actually a strategist in national security and foreign policy, and I wrote this book, Last Warning to the West, because it's very important. America and Western civilization here in Europe, we are one step away from losing our civilization to Marxism. I wrote this book because Hungary is a great example of coming through communism and still maintaining their national identity. They came through communism and now they're fighting the EU wokeism, which is very similar to the Marxism that they endured for 46 years until 1991. Read it. I think that you will learn a lot. The European Union has taken upon itself to tell nation states what type of family values that they should have, such as transgender, pushing gender ideology into curriculum in schools in the European Union. Hungary, thank goodness, said no to that. In fact, they took a referendum, which is the definition of a sovereign country, and over 80 or 90% of Hungarians said no. We don't want our children learning gender ideology. We don't want gender ideology or gender reassignment being taught to our children. So Hungary has stood up against that, and because of that, the European Union has sanctioned Hungary on this, withholding millions of dollars from Hungary. So that is a very concrete example of the European Union not respecting the sovereignty of nations. Communism or Marxism and wokeism are extremely similar. In fact, the United States Department of Defense wrote the communist psychological warfare points. There are 11 of them, and if you look at all 11 of them, they apply not only to the United States under the previous Biden administration, but they also apply to the wokeism in the European Union. Let me give you one example. One example is having your own propagandist arm. This is what the Soviet Union did when they first got to a satellite country. They made sure they had a media, they had control of the media because they wanted to control the language and the narrative to the people. It's about top-down decision-making where states and citizens have to listen to the elite's version of truth. They have to accept the elite's version of family or ideology. And it's all about control. So-called progressivism, I always put it in quotes, isn't really progressive. It's actually retrogressive. It takes us backwards instead of going forwards. You know, the things that our countries, our nations were founded on, a belief in God, a strong family, common sense, freedom of speech, freedom of religion and conscience. These are the things that we need to hold on to, not giving small identity groups more rights than other people. The radical left is using law as a weapon against conservatives. We even have seen that in the United States with President Trump, who was indicted 4 times and almost was unable to run for president in the US. We've seen that here in Romania, where Georgescu was kept from being voted for a second time with false accusations against him, Russian interference and manipulation of social media. Marine Le Pen is another example, and this is something that the left uses to oppress their political opponents. I think that Donald Trump is actually recreating the economic and political global system. And what I say to my friends from Europe nation states, do not panic. Just get to the negotiation table very quickly on tariffs, because I believe that Donald Trump wants to support our allies, but we also need a fairer playing field. That's just the reality of it. So come quickly, negotiate, let us be partners. This I believe under Donald Trump is an opportunity for European allies to come together and together defeat the globalist agenda. As America is cleaning house, we are cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. We are slapping down our programs, our departments that are focused on wokeism. It is also an opportunity for our European allies to deregulate, to cut the bureaucratic system, to cut the DEI regulatory system that is burdening states. It is an opportunity for us to come together, increase our trade, and avoid the fragmentation that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran would actually benefit from. Under the Biden administration, the United States was almost destroyed by mass illegal immigration. However, President Donald Trump is deporting thousands of illegals right now. Prime Minister Orban of Hungary has the same idea as President Trump. He has put up physical barriers and political barriers against people coming into his country illegally. We have to be proud of our national identity. Just like President Trump has talked about, each nation, their culture, their history is very important to that nation. It's very unique, and we should protect it. We should protect our borders. We should protect our people and our families and our culture. This is not anything to be ashamed of. This is what I don't like about the elite right now in the United States and in the European Union. They want us to be ashamed of our history, of our religion, of where we came from. Let me give you an example from the book. Hungary, under Ottoman Turk rule, they didn't even take on Islam at that time. They maintained the Christian identity that they've had for 1,000 years. Under Soviet rule, when the Soviets tried to extinguish their Christianity, their understanding, their relationship with their family and God, they said no. They continued to practice their religion in the home. And when the Soviets finally left, they brought out their crosses again and put them up on the walls. The point is, we can't be ashamed of who we are. We have to fight for that history and that national identity that's so important to our countries. In America, we are a nation of immigrants, but the difference is that the Biden administration let in almost 20 million immigrants illegally. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. And it's much the same in the European Union. And I will point this out. The fact that Hungary stopped illegal mass immigration. Look at their country. They've had no terrorism. However, terrorism has spread around Europe in the past decade. This is an opportunity for President Donald Trump, Prime Minister Orban, and others who are like-minded, like Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, to come together and fight the globalist agenda. We have in Europe, we have Islamist territories or parts in France, in Germany, in Great Britain, who have taken over these places where the police cannot even go in. We can't do this. There's a difference between tolerating another religion and actually allowing a culture to overtake your own culture. I believe that America and the West has one more shot to defeat the globalist agenda and revive our Western civilization that is based on Christian democratic principles, God, family, our homeland, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of conscience and belief. We've got one more chance. We cannot let the Marxist globalist agenda win.